The current Christchurch Tramway opened in 1995, and 30 years later, it continues to be one of the city's most popular tourist attractions, with vintage trams running on around 3.9 kilometres of track in the city centre. When I was down south again in March 2025, I thought I'd go for a ride, something I wouldn't normally do on a Christchurch trip because, for some reason, the ticket costs a staggering $40. By contrast, an adult ticket on the Wynyard Quarter line in Auckland only costs $2, and why the Christchurch system only has a day pass and no cheaper options is anyone's guess. In any case, the two trams I rode on during this latest South Island trip were Brill Class No. 178, a Christchurch local built in 1922, and Invercargill 15, a Burnie safety car built in 1921. After seeing 178 crossing Colombo Street, we're now at the intersection of Lichfield, Manchester and High Streets, where we see Invercargill 15 meeting Dunedin 11. Here's Dunedin 11 again, now trundling up High Street towards the intersection with Hereford and Colombo Streets. After seeing Melbourne W2 class number 244 heading off, I bought my ticket and waited for Invercargill 15 to arrive back at Cathedral Junction. This little American-built tram is perhaps my favourite member of the Christchurch fleet. As the tram makes her way around the loop, the motorman gives a live commentary about the area. The Motat crew do the same thing on the Wynyard Quarter line up in Auckland, although that line is significantly shorter than this one in Christchurch, and, as far as I know, still living on borrowed time. Incidentally, I reckon Invercargill 15 is of a similar size to the little X1 tram number 466.
They've built a squash court on stage and it looks spectacular. Now, we have a brand new mural painted on the left here on the side of the white building. It's the tallest mural in New Zealand. It's very hard to see from where we are, but I would advise to, at some stage, go in there and take a photograph of that. It goes right to the top of the building. See the sides of that mural? It is spectacular. Well worth a visit. Have a look at it. We are the city of murals. We've got tons of them around, including this one to the right of Antarctica. We're the gateway to the icy continent. Making our way into stop number 2, Cathedral Square. From here we're going to head down to the shopping precinct. We'll be back here in 20 minutes and head up to the Botanic Gardens. Here on the right, Turanga is our library, more than just books. Get the lift to the top, you get great views out over the city. Making our way to stop number 2, Cathedral Square. Coming up on the left-hand side, new building getting built, replacing earthquake damaged stock. You'll hear a lot about the earthquakes of 2010 and 11 because they certainly shaped our city in a major way. We lost close to 80% of the buildings in the inner city, more than 1,200 buildings gone, 8,000 houses gone in the suburbs, total cost of $15 billion. She was a biggie. Empty sections like the one on our left used to have buildings on them and will be rebuilt in the future, I'm sure. The rebuild is taking shape and I think turning out quite well. I'm happy here. And it's only getting better every day by day. 20 minutes time, guys, we'll be back this way. We'll go straight ahead, then up over the river. But now left-hand turn, heading into the Riverside Promenade. Captain Robert Falcon Scott at the Antarctic, the sculpture there on the right, died on the ice in 1912. Second man to reach the South Pole, wanted to be first, but was beaten by Roald Amundsen from Norway. And to add insult to injury, Scott and his party perished on the ice on the way back. To our left, the Public Trust Office. The building's been restored and they've added a restaurant and bar on the roof called Mr. Brightside. Head down the lane, in the door, up the lift, great views over the city. This is stop number 3, Melbourne Island. Let the tram pass in front of us. About to come in front of us is a 1926 Melbourne W-class tram, famous Melbourne W's, 244, beautiful tram, 1926. Heading into High Street now. Every city in the world has a high street. This is ours. All the way ahead of us in the distance, Mount Cavendish, part of the Port Hills of Canterbury. The building on top of the mountain is the top station of the Christchurch gondola. It's a 20-minute drive from town to the base, a 10-minute ride up the cableway, spectacular 360-degree views at the top. On the other side of the mountain ahead of us, the port of Lyttelton, where the early settlers arrived in 1850. Climbed the mountain, carried all their goods and furniture down the side, drained the swamps that were here, set up the city of Christchurch. Pretty hardy souls they were, all from the Church of England, the Anglican Church. Right, traffic lights ahead. We've got a red T for tram. We should change in a moment. And let us through. Here we go into Litchfield. All the way ahead of us is our new stadium, our sports stadium, rugby league, soccer. This is the One New Zealand Stadium, due to open in April next year at a cost of just under $700 million. 30,000 seats, totally roofed. Is it roofed or roofed? I think it's roofed. But anyway, the roof is total. And we're expecting to have at least 6 concerts a year under the big top as well, so looking forward to it. So at the moment they're upgrading the streets all around here and relaying the tram tracks and doing everything to make it more pedestrian friendly for when the games are on and also when the you stupid idiot. It takes all types, doesn't it? You can't ride on the tram tracks. So you could pick up a pizza. Heading down Poplar Lane. Duck Central here on the left. Coming up to stop number 7. Straight ahead of us, the white building once again, just a facade. We've demolished everything behind the walls, built a 12-restaurant food court there called Little High Street. You can tell when a building's a facade. Look at the top right-hand corner through the windows. You see the sky. because there's no roof. Stop 7.
I got off at stop number 7 to have lunch at C1 Espresso, an interesting cafe where they send food to customers through pneumatic tubes. I only found out about this place thanks to a video made by Tom Scott, and was curious to see it for myself. Before my hot dog and fries arrived, I noticed this old sewing machine that's been modified as a water dispenser, hence the presence of those little glasses. As for the food itself, I thought it was pretty good, although it's very expensive. To be clear, I'm not sponsored by the cafe, but I still thought they deserved to be mentioned in this video. Despite the name, I don't think they have anything to do with the C1 class trams over in Melbourne, although, come to think of it, it'd be pretty funny if a C1 did come to Christchurch and run past C1 Espresso. After lunch, I went back out to the tram stop to find 178 sitting there, and climbed aboard for a ride as far as the bridge over the Avon River. Before 178 started moving again, I noticed this trio of corgi statues next to tram stop number 7. From what I gather, these statues were made in 2003 to celebrate the Golden Jubilee of Queen Elizabeth II.
Nice cafe here, C1. They've got pneumatic tubes on the roof like the old post offices. They deliver food through them. Right, here's Wall Street. Oh, I forgot to point out the one at the previous stop, but that's the Britain motorcycle, John Britton, very famous man. That picture there's David Kidwell. There's bubble gum on the fence wall behind us, which is quite funky. I'm really happy about this building here. They're finally building a commercial building out of timber. Brilliant. They're going to clad it in glass so you can see the timber. Timber does very well in earthquakes. I've been a fan of it for years, but of course I'm just a tram driver, what do I know? But they're finally building a commercial timber building. I can't wait to see how it turns out. And then off to the left, over on the wall behind the tree over there, there's a Mini Cooper. It's been up there since the early 2000s. As part of an advertising campaign. That car was up there during the earthquakes. 1,100 commercial buildings demolished. The car's still there. Don't ask me how that works. Over here, apartments. Now those apartments don't look like much. Pretty boring. Just little 3 and 4 story units. But they actually herald an enormous change in our cities. Before the earthquakes, we had pretty well no apartment living, just 1 or 2 buildings. But they demolished over 13,000 residential houses after the quakes, and they're being replaced with a lot of apartments. 800 along Manchester Street alone, thousands in the central city. They're rapidly becoming apartment central. So we're effectively going to triple the population of the city centre. Big change coming over the next few years. Personally, I think it's very thoughtful of them to put new apartments right next to the new stadium. Now they'll have someone to make noise complaints. On the right, this is all retail. You'll notice a lack of for lease signs around the central city. So the investors are seeing dollar signs, high demand. So lots of retail going on. Then as we come down High Street here, everything is new since the quakes. This whole street's been rebuilt. All of these new buildings fully earthquake proof, so don't worry about earthquakes too much. Anything that can fall down already has. All of our new buildings fully earthquake proof. If you're looking for something to do on a quiet Sunday, you can always go shoe shopping if you want. This is Shoe Alley down here. You've got Birkenstock on the left for sensible German sandals. You've got Head Over Heels on the right for sparkly and strappy. Merchant in front of us on the left for handcrafted Portuguese.
I thought of getting on 244, but she looked to be full. So I waited until Invercargill 15 pulled a Carly Simon by coming around again.
That's the well-known truck author who lived just outside Christchurch. Coming now into Christchurch's most beautiful street. This is New Regent Street. Mostly home to bars, cafes, restaurants and that sort of thing. Definitely recommend having a stroll down here and seeing what food is open and available. Lots of good options. This was designed back in the 1930s by Arthur Stacey, who found Christchurch to be a little bit too boring. You can let me know if he succeeded or not. I won't care whatever you say either way. This is stop number 18. It's for New Regent Street. Like I say, if you want to walk down here and see what is on offer. This is also the last stop before we get back to stop number 1, the junction, and from there we'll begin the journey from the start once again. So the style that you're looking at down the street here is called Spanish Mission Revival, which originates from the west coast of the USA, mostly popular in Southern California, implemented there when the Spanish controlled that section of the Americas. And it's also a mirror image street, the only one of its kind in the country. So if you look up the top there at the facade, you can see that each side reflects the other, hence the name mirror image. This is also continued at the bottom with the tiles, the orange, white, blue ones, which were directly imported to Christchurch from the Spanish island of Majorca for the purposes of New Regent Street. So we'll come out of New Regent now, head back into stop number 1 for Cathedral Junction, where, like I said, we'll start the journey from the beginning once again. Here you'll also begin a new tram driver taking over from me, so that's also very fortunate for you. Something to look forward to. So this here is Cathedral Junction. It was designed by John Britton, famous motorcycle designer and engineer I mentioned a bit earlier. If you want the tram then. That's him there. A little information about it. But he was influenced when he's constructing this by the Victorian style of train station you find a lot of in the city of London, built back in the early 1990s. So stop number 1 again, Cathedral Junction.
This is where I end my coverage of the Christchurch Tramway for March 2025. I don't know when I'll be back, but I'm sure I'll film the trams again someday.